Okay, be honest. You probably think your packed back-to-back calendar proves just how important you are, right? Well, what if I told you that to the world's top 1%, that exact same schedule actually just makes you look, well, cheap? Today, we're diving into this explainer to completely decode the hidden playbook of time wealth. We're going to see how the ultra-elite actually operate and how you can use their principles to reclaim your focus and totally crush decision fatigue. It's a pretty harsh reality check, honestly. It completely shatters this illusion we've all been sold since day one. We're conditioned to believe that cramming every minute of our day proves our worth to society. But here's the truth. Putting on this massive performance of busyness, it really just signals to the truly powerful people that you are still totally trapped in the hustle. It basically screams that you don't actually own your time at all. You're just leasing it. So, let's unpack this. Part 1. The conspicuous busyness trap. To really get this, we have to look at how our status symbols have drastically shifted over time. Way back in 1899, sociologist Thorstein Veblen came up with this idea of conspicuous leisure. Back then, the ultimate flex was literally doing nothing. You showed off your wealth by totally abstaining from manual labor. But jump to the mid-20th century and luxury goods became democratized. Mass production hit, meaning suddenly almost anyone could save up and buy a premium watch or a designer bag. Because the middle class was catching up materially, the elite needed a totally new way to stand out. And as a result, the middle class found this exhausting new way to prove their market value: constant, non-stop busyness. Fast forward to today, and complaining about being swamped is basically the new Rolex. It's just a socially acceptable way of saying, hey, look how scarce and highly demanded my human capital is.
And because of this, we're left with this massive aspirational gap in how different classes treat time. Think about it. The lower class is stuck in true time poverty, literally trading hours for subsistence wages, punch clock labor. Then you step up to the middle tier, the professional managerial class, or new money. This group is all about those jam-packed digital calendars. It's performative hustle. They're desperately trying to signal competence to their bosses and peers. But then, you look at the old money elite, the real power players. Their calendars are completely empty. They operate at this incredibly slow, deliberate tempo to counter-signal their absolute systemic autonomy. They just sit completely outside this whole frantic, exhausting dynamic.
Which brings us to part 2, the psychology of counter-signaling. So what exactly is counter-signaling? Well, it's this fascinating strategic behavior where people who have the absolute highest level of an attribute, think extreme wealth or massive power, actually invest demonstrably less effort into proving it than the folks stuck in the middle. Think about it. If you have to constantly physically show everyone around you just how incredibly busy you are, it implies you still answer to the market. The true elite, they minimize their efforts specifically to prove that they answer to absolutely no one. This whole psychology actually has deep roots. It goes all the way back to a 16th century concept called sprezzatura, which loosely translates to studied carelessness. It's this incredibly rare capacity to execute highly complex, really difficult tasks while making them look entirely effortless. So the ultimate high-status display isn't running around looking super stressed and overworked. It's executing perfectly without ever letting anyone see you sweat. It's all about maintaining this tranquil, almost eerie consciousness of effortless superiority. All right, let's move on to part 3, the cost of time poverty. Here's the thing. Playing this frantic hustle game doesn't just make you tired, it literally induces something called cognitive tunneling. When you don't have temporal autonomy, when you don't control your own time, your brain actually gets trapped in a state of scarcity. And this causes you to systematically overborrow time and make these really suboptimal, low-yield decisions. It completely destroys your strategic clarity. You end up absolutely flooded with decision fatigue because you're constantly living in a reactive state, just trying to survive the next Zoom call or the next massive email thread. You literally, physically, cannot think deeply when your brain is tunneling like that. And the math actually backs this up entirely. There is a massive baseline divergence in performance between people who are time-rich and those who are time-poor. So, to safeguard their cognitive bandwidth, what do the wealthy do? They build automated financial and operational systems. They use capital leverage to reach that ultimate holy grail, the empty calendar. They will gladly spend their money to protect their time. That ensures they can step back, breathe, and actually make the high-impact decisions that compound wealth over time. Let's take a super quick pause right here. If you're finding value in uncovering these hidden architectures of power with us in this explainer, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. And definitely stick around because in just a second, I'm going to give you the exact 4-step framework you can use to start reclaiming your time and absolutely crushing decision fatigue starting today. Let's keep going. Part 4, the temporal red sneakers effect.
You might have actually heard of the red sneakers effect from consumer research. It's this idea where someone wears casual, beat-up gym shoes into a high-end luxury boutique. They do it to signal that they're so incredibly wealthy, they don't even need to conform to the dress code. Well, guess what? The exact same rule applies to your time. The typical, aspirational behavior is maintaining this hyper-fragmented nightmare calendar just to prove how committed you are to the company. But elite, non-conforming behavior? That looks like totally demolishing your recurring meetings. Operating on a purely ad hoc basis with completely open, unprogrammed days is a massive flex. Subconsciously, it signals to everyone around you that you possess so much institutional leverage, you are literally too valuable to be fired just for not conforming.
And that brings us to our final section, Part 5, Your Guide to Time Wealth. This is where we get into the actionable frameworks you can adopt these elite principles right now, improve your focus, and finally eliminate that awful decision fatigue.
Earn with your mind, not your time. Write that down, because this is the absolute foundational philosophy you need to adopt like yesterday. You have to realize that economic productivity for knowledge workers is highly nonlinear. Just one single massive creative breakthrough or one really high-quality strategic decision can yield exponential returns. Just linearly logging your hours at a desk, that is actively counterproductive if your goal is building true wealth. So how do we actually execute this transition? We use 4 specific temporal tactics. First up, slowness. Try moving and speaking a bit more deliberately. It projects this incredible stillness and absolute control. Second, strategic delay. Start waiting a bit before you respond to every single ping or message. You have to actively reject this modern culture of instant digital accessibility. Third is silence. Don't be afraid to use noticeably long pauses in conversations. It literally forces the entire room to adapt to your tempo, instead of you rushing to match theirs. And finally, number 4, intentional lateness. Now, don't go crazy with this one, but by occasionally making others wait, you implicitly frame your time as highly valuable, which asserts structural dominance. Adopting these tactics helps you systematically filter out the noise, aggressively protect your focus from debilitating decision fatigue, and build this massive, vital psychological moat around your entire day.
So I want to leave you with this question. Do you truly own your time? Or are you really just leasing it out to the market to prove that you exist? Do me a favor. Look at your calendar tomorrow. Ask yourself honestly, are those big blocks of back-to-back meetings actually building your wealth and giving you space for deep thought? Or are they just feeding the illusion of your own importance? It's time to step out of the trap, stop performing busyness, and start building true time wealth.